Hello YouTube, what is up? It's Ariel like the mermaid. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. This is gonna be a one-take video because your girl doesn't have editing equipment right now, so yeah. But anyway, I came on here today because I want to share my addiction story. I am a recovering addict as of January this year, and I've got almost 11 months on the 10th. So yeah, anyway, I'll just get to it. So I was born into a family that basically my family looked great on the outside. Nobody could tell that there were any problems in our family, but on the inside there was a lot of abuse going on, a lot of physical abuse and a lot of emotional and mental abuse. So that was what I grew up with basically from the time I was born until I was 6 years old. And when I was 6 was when my parents split up, and I was raised, unlike most people, me and my sister were both raised by a single dad. And and then shortly after my parents split up was when I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and that was very traumatizing, and I had to change the way I ate and the way I took care of myself, and just like my whole life changed. And if you're already subscribed, then you probably know how that is. But anyway, so I had a very abnormal childhood, different from most people. And around the age of 10, 11, I was very depressed. I would come home every day from school and I would cry, and I didn't know what was going on, and I was just really scared. I didn't know why I was having all these emotions that I couldn't control, and why I was so sad and depressed and just wasn't functioning the way I wanted to. So yeah, around 11 was when I had my first suicide attempt, and I use quotations because looking back, I don't really think it was a real attempt. It's hard to say because I was so young that maybe I really did think that it was gonna work. But anyway, I think it was more of a cry for help, and that was shortly after that was when I got admitted to my first psych hospital, which was so fun. If you see me using humor, it's because some of this stuff is really uncomfortable to talk about and put out there. It's mental illness, and addiction is still very stigmatized, but it needs to be talked about. And I just feel like any addicts, or like any recovering addicts or whatever, whoever follows me, I feel like it could be useful to them if they need support or if they're struggling or whatever. But anyway, so yeah, all throughout, after that, throughout middle and high school, I felt very isolated. I didn't feel like I fit in with other people, especially at school. I was kind of like that I became very, very quiet in high school. I didn't talk to people much unless I was in the same classes with you and we were friends and I talked to you, but even then, I was just very quiet, kind of a loner. In my junior and senior year, I would always eat lunch alone. I would eat lunch in the bathroom sometimes, and that's really embarrassing to say, but I just didn't feel like I fit in. I was so scared of people judging me and what people would have to say about me and who I was and what I liked or whatever, that I just didn't put myself out there at all. And I was very uncomfortable. I didn't understand why I was like that and why I felt so different from everybody else. I thought that nobody else ever felt that way. I just thought that I was fucking weird. But anyway, and that's kind of something that I guess I've heard it from other addicts, but I don't hear it a lot because a lot of the addicts that I've talked to started using or drinking when they were very young. And that's something different about my story, is that I didn't really start using or drinking or whatever until I was really 18. That was when I started smoking every day, and I started drinking and using hard drugs and whatever, you name it. I've pretty much done anything you can name except for heroin. Anyway, so yeah, but all throughout high school, I was really about dance. That was all I cared about. That was kind of my addiction at that point. I didn't care about anything else. Like, that was all I wanted to do. It was all I would invest myself in. And yeah, so once I stopped dancing, because I didn't go pro with it, which is definitely, it was a regret of mine. It's not anymore because I can dance whenever I want, like, and I don't need to make money from it for it to make me happy. But yeah, once I stopped dancing and I got out of high school, I was very depressed because I wasn't dancing anymore. I was working and I felt like I needed something else to distract myself. So I started smoking every day, became a total pothead, got into harder drugs, and yeah. But I'm 22 now. I got sober when I was 21. I feel like I really didn't use for as long as some addicts have. I realized that I had to stop very quickly, and I feel like the reason why I realized so quickly was because of my type 1. It was really because of my type 1 that I realized if I don't stop, I am going to die. I am going to like have a seizure in my sleep and somebody is not going to be there and I'm going to die. So yeah, about a year ago was really when I got more into drinking heavily, and yeah, I had 3 diabetic seizures, 2 of which landed me in the hospital. And after all of those happened, I became so depressed. I was really in debt and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any real like life goals, or like I just didn't know what I was doing. I was so depressed and I was terrified that I was gonna go into the bathroom and hurt myself. I just had this really strong urge to hurt and or kill myself. I didn't feel like I had any purpose, and I just felt like there was no point anymore. I didn't know what I was doing, and I actually called the suicide hotline 3 times in 1 month because I just needed to vent everything that I was going through. And yeah, so when I started using when I was 18, yeah, I started smoking weed, like that was my thing. And then around the age of 19 was when I got kicked out of my dad's house. And after I got kicked out, I had nowhere to go. I didn't really have any friends that I could go stay with or anything. And I ended up living in my car. So I was living in my car for about 7 months, just like all over LA. Like I would find empty parking lots to go park in, like quiet neighborhoods or whatever. And yeah, that was a really sad time for me. I pretty much cried every day. I felt like I was unloved and like poor me, and like why is all this happening to me? Like, you know, just not really taking accountability for anything I was doing. Excuse me. But yeah, I just wasn't taking accountability. I wasn't realizing that I was in that position because of my actions. And yeah, it was just not a happy time. And I eventually moved into a house with my boyfriend and his family. And then at one point I went back to live with my dad, and I lived with my dad for about 3 months until I got kicked out again because I could not control my using and my behavior. It was just out of control. And so I got kicked out again, and yeah, that was when I just started using uncontrollably. I didn't care anymore. about anything really, not even myself, especially not myself. And yeah, that was when I became really depressed, and I realized that I had to do something. Like, I knew if I didn't do something about my addiction, I was going to die. And it's kind of ironic because I wanted to die, but I knew that I didn't really want to die. Like, you know how when you say you want to die, it's like, no, you don't want to die. You just think you do. But anyway, December last year, almost exactly a year ago, I was trying really hard to get into this one treatment center, and they didn't want to take me because of my seizures and everything. And I went to my doctor, I got a medical note, I did everything I could to get into this treatment center, and it was the best decision I've made for myself, probably in my entire life. So I went in, and it was such a relief just to be in residential, like just to be in rehab, which is kind of ironic because I feel like you don't hear that a lot, but maybe you do, I don't know. But it was such a relief to not have to worry about where I'm living. Like, I don't have to worry about food or money or talking to people or like anything. It was such a relief, and I knew that I was doing the right thing. So yeah, after getting sober, ironically, like, I knew I had a problem, but I really didn't admit that I had a problem to myself until 2 months of being sober. Like, I was already out of residential and in an intensive outpatient program when I realized that, like, shit, every single day, all I can think about is getting out of this place and going to find a new doctor and getting prescribed the meds that I want. And it took a good 2 months of thinking that way for me to realize, like, hey, if I want something so bad that that's all I can think about every single day, I must have a problem. And once I finally admitted to myself and to everybody else that I had a problem, it was the biggest relief I've ever felt in my entire life. I felt like this huge, like, just burden was lifted off my shoulders, and my depression, like, went away. Like, I went from sleeping, like, all day, every day, to actually getting up in the mornings and, like, doing something with my life. So yeah, it was a huge relief. I got a sponsor that I felt like I could relate to and that was similar to me, and I started working steps. I did everything I possibly could to make sure that I'm gonna stay sober and I'm gonna actually get somewhere in life, because there's nothing more that I want, like, other than that. I don't want to be a junkie for the rest of my life. I don't want to be using for the rest of my life and overdose, or, like, you know, nobody wants that. But anyway, yeah, so that was the best decision of my life. And I feel like I'm leaving something out. Oh yeah, one more thing I didn't say is that, like, that kind of, like, isolation that I had in high school and everything, I really didn't realize what it was until I got sober, and I was like, oh shit, it's because I'm an addict and I'm worried about controlling everybody else and everything else other than myself. Like, at the end of the day, the only thing we can control is ourselves and what we do and what we, you know, what we think and say and whatever. So yeah, but one of my biggest kind of insecurities when it comes to my addiction is, like, I feel like my story is not, like, as exciting or as bad as other people's. Like, I never got a felony, I was never in jail, like, I didn't deal with a lot of the shit that it takes for other people to want to get sober. But at the end of the day, I'm also type 1 diabetic. I have a lot of other medical problems that other people don't, and, you know, that took me to a place real fast where I hit my rock bottom and I realized, shit, like, I gotta get my shit together. And in a way, I'm kind of grateful for that. I'm grateful that I am clean and sober at 22 years old, and I'm actually a productive member of society now. Being sober has granted me so many opportunities and just so many things that I never ever would have got without being sober. I mean, I I could sit here and like tell you all day all the material things that I've gained from being sober, but at the end of the day too, I have gained so much confidence. Just like I finally got to know myself and like know who I actually am and learn how to deal with emotions and feelings and just like be a human being and be okay with it. So yeah, I hope somebody relates to this story. I hope this helped you. Yeah, if I left anything out or if you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment below and I will try to get to that as soon as I can. Thank you.